Hello everyone and welcome to the course on simulating fluid flows using Python. So far we have understood the very fundamentals of the convection diffusion problem, and I also briefed you regarding the usage of central differencing scheme using the finite volume method. Hopefully until now you are clear with the concepts, and today I wanted to show you the model results for this particular convection diffusion problem in one dimension that I gave you a glimpse in the last lecture, and we would talk about the prevalent issues with the central differencing scheme. So in the lecture today, I would highlight that central differencing scheme is valid for these kind of problems only for a certain range of parameters. So we'll look at that. And finally, we would look at the various properties of the discretization scheme, and in that we would assess as to why there were issues with the central differencing scheme so that we could figure out the root cause of the problem. So the lecture today would be oriented more about understanding the numerical schemes, but will also give a glimpse of the problem itself. So we'll talk about the solution of the one-dimensional convection diffusion scenario. So I hope that you'll find it very interesting, just like I would be very excited to present you all these details. So without any further delay, let's get started. So the problem at hand is a one-dimensional steady convection diffusion phenomena. So we had a domain of 1 unit length. So let's say the left hand is at x equals to 0 and the right hand is at x equals to 1. And we had the Dirichlet boundary condition of a variable phi equals to 1 at the left end and phi equals to 0 at the right boundary. For the convection, we assumed a velocity of 0.1 meter per second, and we assumed these properties of the fluid and the material. And this problem was of our interest because we know what is the exact variation of phi that is given by this particular parameter. So in order to further understand how the variable phi would be actually varying in the problem according to the exact solution and according to the central differencing scheme, there is one very important non-dimensional parameter that I want to talk about, and that is called as a Piclet number. And you will see very shortly as to why this is important in the convection diffusion phenomena. So mathematically, Piclet number is given as, or physically first of all, Piclet number is given as the ratio of convection strength to the diffusion strength, because we have two forces at play. So the ratio of those two forces is called as the Piclet number here. And if I want to represent it mathematically, this is basically the parameter called as f that we have defined in the last lecture to the value of d. So if I substitute these values here and here, because when I define this d, I'm using gamma over h, where h is the grid spacing, and that is why this kind of representation of Piclet number is called as the grid Piclet number. So the mathematical expression comes out as that the grid Piclet number is equals to rho, that is the density of the fluid, times the convection velocity times the grid spacing divided by gamma. So we'll see very shortly why this particular Piclet number is of so importance. But before that, I want to clarify one more thing, that sometimes in the textbook, you might also come across what is called as a global Piclet number, where rather than the grid spacing, people use the domain size of, for example, the domain length or the domain height. In those cases, you should not be getting confused with what is grid Piclet number and what is the global Piclet number. So now if I want to frame my exact solution, which is written in the bold here, you can very easily see that the exponential term here, it's nothing but Piclet number evaluated at some x, whereas in the denominator, we have the expression for the global Piclet number. So a little bit more simpler representation of this expression, that is this exact solution, is written in terms of these Piclet number. So now we would look at some model results. So I want to clarify that these results are actually obtained using the same ideas that we discussed in the last lecture, that we are using a finite volume method with central differencing discretization scheme. And the reason why we want to see these is to first understand that how the Piclet number is going to affect the physics of the problem, and we would see that the Piclet number would be a very important parameter in order to understand the stability of this particular scheme, that is the central differencing based convection diffusion phenomena. So finally, we want to understand what is the root cause of that we'll look at the later part of this lecture. So let me show you how the Piclet number is going to affect the solution approach. So we'll start with the very simple or the most simple case here, that is a Piclet number of 0. So mathematically, Piclet number of 0 implies that physically either the convection is 0 or the diffusion is very high. So if the convection is 0, the convection diffusion phenomena, it basically converts into a diffusion problem that we have looked a lot into last few lectures. So if I consider the case of Piclet number of 0 with the boundary conditions of 1 at the left boundary and 0 at the right boundary, and in this case I'm using 50 grid points to discretize my domain. And if you remember, I hope you do, that in this case, in the case of pure diffusion, we expect a linear variation of the variable of interest phi, and therefore the variable would just vary linearly here. So please, I'm sorry that I'm still using t on the y-axis here. I should have simply called it as a phi variable. So I hope that you'd understand that in this case, in the case of pure diffusion, the central differencing scheme is just fine. So Piclet number as 0 is not a problem. So now if we increase the Piclet number, so let us say we put a positive Piclet number of 1. So what that means is that the convection forces and the diffusion forces, they are in balance, or in other terms, because the Piclet number is positive, the convection term is positive, which means the u velocity is positive. So remember, the density, the diffusivity and the grid spacing, they are already positive terms. So depending on the magnitude of u, or rather the direction of u, whether it's in a positive direction or the negative direction, the Piclet number could either be negative or positive. So first we are looking at the Piclet number equals to 1 case, that is a positive flow velocity case. So in this case, we see that when the Piclet number is 1, that is the velocity is from left to right, in this case, all the variation is very well captured by the central differencing scheme. So the underlying solid line, that is this blue line over here, that is the exact solution, and all these circles are the numerical solutions obtained by the central differencing scheme. The more interesting part is that as soon as the velocity is in the positive direction, you see that literally there is no change in the value of phi almost until x equals to 0.9. That is, the 90% of the domain is at the same value of phi as that of the left boundary. So the direction of velocity therefore becomes very important, and therefore the phenomena of convection, as you would see later on, is very dominant in general in fluid flows, and therefore it cannot be discarded. So now, having looked at the positive side, now let us look at how the negative Piclet number changes the physics. So if we have a negative Piclet number, again I'm taking a value of -1 here, the magnitude being 1. So in this case the opposite happens. So now the fluid is flowing from right to left, and therefore a lot of points in the domain are actually the same as the right boundary. So you can imagine that this particular point, because the velocity is going from this point to the other point, that is right boundary to the left boundary, there's a whole lot of influence of this point on all the grid points that are inside the domain. So that is one thing that we can look at it from a physical perspective, that the direction of the velocity, it changes or it determines quite a lot of things about the interiority of the domain, and it significantly affects as to what is going on. So these were the cases of smaller Piclet number relatively. So now we want to see what happens when we further increase the Piclet number, because in general cases the Piclet number could be high, the convection could be much more dominant than the diffusion process. So if we ramp up the Piclet number, we see that if we increase the Piclet number to 5 here, so the exact solution is still given by this blue line, and you see that according to the exact solution, lots of influence is now based on the left boundary. So almost 96 or 97% of the points, they have the same value of phi as the left boundary. But now if you observe these circles, these red circles, which is the numerical solution, you would see that the numerical solution can't really capture this. And you see that there are certain regions where we have very large errors with respect to the exact solution. And also we see what is called as an unbounded behavior. That is, the points here, they are not really lying in between the exact solution domain. So I'll talk about this in a little while, but I hope that you can observe that there is something going wrong here. So that is the issue that I was talking about from a perspective of central differencing scheme. So now let us look into why this might be actually happening. So I'll make a statement first, and then I'll explain as to why that is, and I'll try to prove that as to. So hopefully just stick with me here, pay a little bit more attention, and I'm very sure that this would be absolutely worth it. So now my statement is that the central differencing scheme shows this unbounded behavior. That is, the variables are jumping behind or above or beyond these accepted values of phi. So I'm saying that the central differencing scheme, it shows such behavior for a magnitude of Piclet number greater than 2. So in order to further understand this, we need to understand what is really going on. And this is where we need to understand about the properties of the discretization schemes. So in these series of lectures, I'm not really going to dive deeper into these properties, but I'm going to give you an overview and only talk about the properties that are relevant for our understanding. So the three properties that are of key importance for numerical schemes are boundedness, transportiveness, and conservativeness. And if you really want to learn more and more about these, you can refer to the book of Versteeg and Malala Sekra, which is the textbook that I've so much referred for this particular course. And there, in that book, you can see a very good discussion on all these properties of the discretization schemes and how they are applied in various schemes as well. So for today, at least for this particular scheme, the property of boundedness is of our interest because we saw that the central differencing scheme was struggling to keep the values of phi bounded between the boundary values. So I'll talk a little bit about what is boundedness and how we can ensure that a numerical scheme would be bounded. So let me first talk about the mathematical definition. So if we don't have any sources in the system, or if we don't have any sink in the system, then the boundedness says that the values at all the internal nodes, they should be less than or equals to the maximum of the boundary values, and they should be greater than or equal to the minimum of the boundary values. So for the context of our 1D problem, we had the minimum of the boundary values as 0 and the maximum of the boundary values at 1. So the idea of boundedness says that all the interior nodes, if there are no source or sink terms in the system, then all the interior nodes must always be in between these 0 and 1. And that is where the central differencing scheme was lacking, because it was sort of jumping very vaguely above and beyond these 0 and 1 values. And that is why we said that the central differencing scheme was not showing a bounded behavior, and that was the root cause. So this is the definition, but how do we really make sure whether the scheme is bounded or not? So the idea becomes that mathematically, the coefficients that are involved in the finite volume discretization, that are the coefficients AE, AW, and AP in the 1D system, and the coefficients including these plus AN and AS in the 2D system, they must have the same sign. And in general CFD, it is usually taken as positive. That is, all these coefficients must be positive. Now, let us see whether is it true or not for a central differencing system. So we saw that the coefficient AW in the system was given as D plus FW by 2. So here D is usually positive, D is always positive, and F might be positive or negative. So let us say that if you have a positive velocity, then F is positive. And if you have a negative velocity, then we might have to look here. But if you look at this coefficient AE, for example, we can very clearly see that there is D and negative of FE by 2. So for a positive velocity, because it's easier to understand, so if I increase the velocity, there would come a point, then this entire term would get negative, and that is where this term would start creating troubles. So let me just rewrite this. The assumption or the reasoning for the boundedness behavior it suggests that AE, which is given by this expression here, it should be greater than 0. And for that to happen, we see that the FE over D, which is nothing but the Piclet number, it should be less than 2. So that is what I was referring through my statement a couple of slides ago, that if the Piclet number is less than 2, then this boundedness behavior would be taken care of, but otherwise the boundedness behavior would start causing issues. And similarly, on the negative front, the another coefficient, that is the AW coefficient, it would start behaving vaguely, and that would result in unstable solutions. So that is why the central differencing scheme, it is only good for the absolute Piclet number smaller than 2. So now we see that this is the real issue, that the central differencing was struggling at high Piclet number. So based on this problem, I hope that I'm in a position to give you a small bit of assignment, rather a coding assignment. The problem statement is the same, that you have to write a Python code that solves the convection diffusion numerical problem that we have looked at in the last 2 lectures for the same parameters that I've showed you. So I showed you a grid size of 50 and I showed you for a Piclet number of 1. You can take any value less than 2 just to make sure that you are in the stable regime, so that at least from the physics perspective, you're not running into bugs. So that with using this first part, you can at least try to figure out that your code and the coding structure is right. And then you can see that the central differencing scheme, it actually is pretty good if the Piclet number is less than 2 and it matches very well with the exact solution. And then if you can ramp up the Piclet number to any value greater than 2, I want you to observe the problems that you face with the central differencing scheme. So this is an assignment because I want you to actually try your hands on this problem, so that first you can try to see what really happens during the code development phase. And in the next lecture, I would actually demonstrate the working code, in which you can also try to see where you were making mistakes, if you were making any mistakes, and you can also see how various things are being done in terms of plotting and so on. But there aren't many changes really if you compare it with the diffusion problem, because we still have the same coefficients. The only problem, or the only inclusion, is the u velocity, which I'm pretty sure that most of you can take care of. So this is all for the lecture today, and in the next lecture I'm going to talk about what could be the potential solutions, because so far in the central differencing scheme we can't really use it for high Piclet number. So we are going to look at the potential solutions to handle high Piclet number problems, and this is where one of the very widely used CFD numerical scheme is being used, that is called as an upwind scheme. And we'll look at how we can use upwind scheme to discretize this particular problem. So upwind scheme is actually very popularly used in a lot of CFD packages, and it's also very widely accepted in academia with appropriate modifications. So we'll look at the basic upwind scheme, and we'll see how the upwind scheme overcomes this unbounded behavior that is observed in the central differencing scheme. So until then, please stay safe and take care, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Bye bye.